That's what's going on inside of our heads while we're playing.
Hey guys, my name is Joanna, also known as JustAnotherFlutist, here on YouTube, and today I will be interviewing Extra Lives Music. They are a band that actually contacted me out of the blue to do a collaboration. You can check out our collaboration in the links below, but first I will get Extra Lives to introduce themselves. So guys, tell us your names and what you play.
Hi Joanna, hi world. My name is Michael and I play guitar.
My name is Ken, I play bass.
My name's Taylor, I play drums and percussion things.
My name is Tim, I play keyboards.
Wonderful! Watching your videos, I was thinking to myself, you guys have to all love video game music and be really high caliber musicians to pull off what you do. So like, how did it even happen? Like, how did you find each other?
Ken and I have been playing together the longest. Ken and I actually were members of a touring pop band called Cloudwalkers. We did that for a couple years. Ken and I started this project in 2016, around the summer of that year. And we knew that we wanted to have a great drummer and a great keyboard player in the group. And so we weren't sure, who could kind of handle this style of music. So we put out some audition calls. We put out separate audition calls for a drummer and for a keyboardist. And Tim was actually the only keyboard player who came in for an audition, right? So he walks in and,
That's great.
And we're thinking to ourselves,
Job security.
The audition piece was really tough. At least I think so. Maybe it's easy for Tim, but it was the Chrono Trigger main theme, which is really demanding on all the strings and stuff like that. So,
But Tim shreds, so.
Yeah, Tim is a shredder. He came in, we're thinking, please be good, please be good, please be good. And lo and behold, Tim absolutely nailed it. And his personality was okay. And so we decided...
I've been working on that, though.
We knew it was something we could work on.
It's a long time coming, but
Yeah.
I think I've made pretty good strides.
We had a drummer come in by the name of Drew, who did a good job. And we kind of wanted to try some different folks out. So Drew did the first 4 videos of us, which anyone can see if they check out our channel. He did a great job. And then we had a guy named Eric who came in the next set, and we decided to continue with Eric, and he's been our drummer for most of our time together. And then last year, Eric decided to move on to other adventures, and so we had another kind of audition call. Taylor, whom I've only met once in my life, but who's been kind of following us as a fan, decided to come in, and he nailed the audition, and we've been having lots of fun ever since.
Wait, you've been following us?
How did you guys actually decide to play video game music, though? Like what led to making that decision?
When Michael and I played in that band before Extra Lives together, oftentimes we would jam, just like in between songs, we were taking a break or something. And one time, I think we started playing the Bubble Man theme, just kind of impromptu. I had known that Michael loved video games, retro video games, in the same way that I did, because we had a lot of conversations about that. And I think the other guys in the group also did, but definitely when we started jamming that, we were like, whoa, this is really cool. We should explore this more. And I think it always stayed in the back of both of our minds when the inevitable end of that group was coming. We kind of decided, we should explore this more, and it's been great. We knew that we wanted to do covers, and I think we both, in a synchronous kind of way, knew that we wanted something that was palatable and digestible, and something that we could put out to the world that was like a little package. And the format just kind of worked out for us, because video game music tends to be looped in 2-minute, 3-minute kind of cycles, right? So that's a fairly nice package for a YouTube YouTube content. Of course, there are a lot of cover bands that are large, right? But I think for our purposes, we needed to record it in a living room. We needed to do this in a certain level of consistency and frequency. So it developed kind of organically. I mean, we discussed it, obviously. And I think the instrumentation is such that it just kind of covers all the parts that are generally needed. when
Right.
when you take on a video game cover.
It feels really cohesive. I think that's what I really liked about listening to like your entire channel, because I did that. So when they contacted me, I was like, oh, this group looks real cute. You know, like I'll like check out their videos. So then I put their videos in the background while I was making a thumbnail for one of my other videos. Just like wave after wave of nostalgia, because a lot of the tunes that you guys are playing, I literally had not heard since I actually played the game when I was little.
Oh.
Especially the Killer Instinct one. I literally
Nice.
had not heard that one. I almost started crying, like hearing some of this stuff. I was
my
like,
God.
yes, these are my people, you know? Growing up in like sort of this classical music world, video game music was not actually very highly looked upon. It was like one of my guilty pleasures, and I didn't really tell anyone about it. Obviously now that has changed, especially with like the Final Fantasy concerts and the Zelda concerts and stuff like that, where like professional orchestras are playing this stuff now because it's actually good stuff. To me, like knowing that our generation that has grown up playing these games, and then now we've grown up and we've become professional musicians, and now we can cover this music that, you know, that we hold very dear. Like, to me, I don't know, it just feels really, really good. Like, I feel vindicated, you know, for liking this music. So the name Extra Lives, very cute name. How did you come up with that?
That was definitely a group decision. I mean, we had like a list of names because in the video game world, there are just so many great names you could choose from,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's
Yes.
just, it's massive. You know, obviously we wanted something that related to video games, so Extra Lives is, you know, to me, like growing up playing all these games, that was always the thing. Like, how many lives do you have left? Like, are we almost at game over? So it kind of fit in that way. But then for me, the reason that Extra Lives was chosen, I just felt like it was kind of a positive kind of spin, you know, in the video game sense, but then also kind of like in life sense. Can you imagine what you would do if you had an extra life? We had this huge running list of potential names that Michael sent out in an email. I'll read a couple of the ones that didn't end up making the cut. Extra Lives was actually the first on the list. That's interesting. So we had Select Start, Tanuki Suit, P-Wing, Warp Whistle. I kind of like Warp Whistle, even though it's kind of
that's
weird.
good.
The other one I liked was Save the Princess. I thought that could have been a cool one.
Well, we had the,
I like
what was
that.
the other long one? The up, up, down, down.
Yeah, Up, Down, Down, Blue
Oh,
Shell.
what's it called? The Konami,
Konami code.
Konami
yeah,
code.
yeah.
Nice, she knows all these.
Flash Kick. That was fun though. Picking the name was fun.
It's almost like a very obvious choice for a video game group, but at the same time, I actually haven't heard of other people using that name at all. And that, I think, what makes a really great name, is that it's obvious, but for some reason
Yeah.
no one's used it.
Our website, our YouTube, etc., they're all under Extra Lives Music, because Extra Lives, even though our band name is Extra Lives was taken up by all these other IPs. But it does seem pretty obvious that there wasn't a band out there called Extra
Yeah.
Lives, and you know, we're all professional musicians. This is a side project for us that happens to be
Yeah.
taking on a life of its own. So this is our extra life. So yeah, it's quite a shock actually that one wasn't already taken, huh?
One of the first things that I thought of when I was watching you guys play was what your group dynamic is like.
The band definitely has a lot of personality between everyone. Just M. Cole alone is filling the room, you know. But we have huge personalities and a lot of humor in the band. I think that kind of really bonds us
Yeah, definitely.
well
Yeah.
in terms of we're all pretty wacky. We're here because we love what we do and just here to have a really good time. And, you know, we take pleasure and pride in everything we do and put a lot of love and care and, you know, just have a blast doing it. M. Cole, I definitely say, is the traditional front man, you know, bright red pants and all. He's got the personality filling the front.
We just released a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover, and we're all wearing, you know, a colored headband to match with who we think are matching turtles. So Michael's was Leonardo.
Okay.
I was Raphael. This is Michelangelo for sure. And of course we got Donatello at the end.
And Tim here on his travels to Thailand brought us back all little turtle mementos. These
Elephants.
elephants, sorry, that had matching colors for each of our personalities. And we all picked them just by guessing what he thought our personalities was.
My wife Mandy and I were just standing there at the booth, and there were probably like 70 of these little miniature elephants. We were like, okay,
Wow.
which one of these is Michael? Which one of these is Ken? Which one of these is Taylor? You know, and we sat there and like picked them all out.
Uh-huh.
And then I showed them to the guys, and they literally just like, oh yeah, that one's me, that one's you. They knew right away. They picked the exact ones.
That is
we thought.
amazing.
So it was pretty cool.
See, that's how you know you guys know each other. What is like each of your musical training like? How much of it was actual training and how much of it was self-taught?
I personally started drums when I was 12. Started taking lessons just playing on phone books and practice pads because I had to earn my kit and prove to, even though my dad was a musician, prove to him that can have drums in the house. So I had to save up. I actually had to sell my first Nintendo at a garage sale for the drum set. So that was a pretty...
Really?
That was a commitment there.
So we didn't know this. This is
Oh
like
my God.
this is like a revelation. I mean, this is why you're here.
Luckily, I was able to obtain a Super Nintendo and then later Nintendo 64 as far as I went later. But I spent a
But
lot
did you
of time
sell
drumming
an
then.
original Nintendo?
Yes.
Like the NES?
Yes, the original one, which I'm bummed out on now, but that helped me get a drum set and enabled
And then
me
now
to
you're
eat
playing
now.
video
So-
game music.
Exactly. So
It's come full circle.
Came back around, yeah.
and then I took it pretty seriously and started gigging with my dad professionally when I was 13, 14, doing parties and playing jazz and Latin and all kinds of music and cruises. So I attended USC for jazz studies, but I quit that major after a semester because it was a little too jazz centric for me. I wanted to branch out and play some other things. I got into
Okay.
rock bands and that kind of stuff at the time. And then I kept playing in all the jazz combos and taking lessons and, you know, always studying and working on stuff. So, you know, my style is pretty all encompassing of all different, I love all kinds of music, you know, hip hop, reggae,
Awesome.
blues, funk, you know, anything that's good music. What really drew me to this group is the challenge of having to interpret these kind of songs that are not actual written drum parts a lot of times, but, you know, weird sounds that you have to interpret and try to turn into a part. And sometimes that's really challenging, you know, and interesting to kind of make a drum part out of that and, you know, see what you could do to create something that's live but have like a little bit of a nostalgic electronic element to it.
I didn't know that about you, Taylor.
That's pretty good, right?
Like probably any other guitar player, you know, I was once a 13-year-old boy who wanted to see if girls would notice me if I learned the guitar. So you know, I was in middle school and I picked up the guitar, and a bunch of friends of mine had this band that they were in, and they were all super cool kids in 7th grade, whatever that means. And I figured, I'll learn to play guitar and they'll let me be in their band, and then, you know, my life will take off from there. So I picked up a guitar, and, you know, a month later I tried to find out if I could get into their band, and they said no, and I was crushed, and I took comfort in sitting in front of, you know, old MTV music videos and just kind of noodling in my bedroom. And so in that sense, I'm kind of self-taught. You know, a year later, I was kind of on my own sort of sea legs as a guitar player. And you know, I've played in bands my whole life. I have had some great teachers and some great lessons. So I'd say I'm probably 50% self-taught, 50% on the shoulders of really great music teachers and guitar teachers. And
awesome.
in college, my major was in jazz guitar and composition. And
Very nice.
Part of my other kind of what I do musically is that, you know, I do guitar work, of course, and I love it. And I'm also really, really passionate about vocal harmonies. And so I do a lot of work as a vocal arranger for choirs and vocal groups and things like that. And so I've been able to kind of yoke together my love of arranging and my love of playing guitar stuff that's way too hard for me until I practice it for hours and hours in this band. And I know playing with these guys has made me a better musician for sure, so I feel super lucky.
I just always had a fascination with the piano, to be honest. When I was a little kid, whenever we went to my grandparents' house, I would always run to the keyboard and just smash on it. I think I was more of a percussionist, but for some reason the piano just like captured everything that I wanted in life. So they had an acoustic piano in their living room, and then my grandmother was a musician. She played every instrument, from harmonica to piano to every kind of guitar. and
Wow.
music kind of ran in that side of the family. And so she had a bunch of old keyboards in her back room, and so I would just go back there and just make sounds and fool around when I was a kid. That's where it's all started. I then, took piano lessons and then became obsessed with ragtime piano music, of all things. And for a long time, I was a ragtime piano player. I used to play at places. I grew up in Connecticut. I used to play ragtime piano music in like every assisted living center and convalescent home.
That's
in Connecticut.
amazing. Ragtime is difficult.
Yeah, it is
That stuff
difficult.
is difficult.
I don't know why. I loved that music, and that was, and kind of that music led me into wanting to learn jazz, and then in high school I was a drummer in rock bands, so
Right.
I did that kind of thing for a few years, and then so I guess I don't know. I guess I'm more. I don't know if I'm more self-taught or not, but I think anybody kind of is self-taught in their own way, and then they get as much knowledge from the outside world as possible. I went to music school and I did study jazz piano and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
But I just love playing live music. This group has really opened up the possibilities for me as a keyboard player in a huge way, because some of the stuff that we do in this band, there's just no other band for some of this stuff. I mean, some of the sounds, some
really
of the
isn't.
styles. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing exploration that I wouldn't be able to do without this kind of a group.
And you can tell what Tim's allegiance is to musically by looking at his socks.
I don't think you can see my socks. The bottom
Are they?
doesn't have...
It's a keyboard.
Yeah!
It's a
Yes.
my allegiance to the piano. It is my master.
So I play bass in the group, but I did not grow up playing bass. I actually started playing piano and violin pretty early on in my life. I started both when I was about 5. And I have an Asian mother who's sort of the tiger mom thing. We did the Suzuki method, and I played piano and violin all my life until even into college. I went to music school as well, had composition. I have a master's in composition from Cal Arts. I'm also a visual artist, so I didn't go to college for music, I guess, but I've always been playing music and writing music. And then picked up the bass. Actually, around the time when I met Michael, I started playing bass to kind of be in that group that he had formed. So I've been playing bass for about, I don't know, maybe 7 years now. Piggyback on what Tim was saying, this music is just so difficult, and the learning curve. If you want to get good at an instrument, this is advice for any musician. If you want to get good at your instrument, just listen to some video game music and try to play what's on there, because the bass lines are generally not made for bass at all.
Where did this whole one take live thing come from? Because I feel like that was a conscious decision.
We obviously want to honor the music, right? We want to show how cool it is, because as you were talking about before, there's sort of a stigma about just video games in general, and then video game music. I certainly think that there's not the respect that other forms of music have that video game music has. So we want to do that. We want to do it justice, right? And what we don't want to do is do a bunch of dubs, right? Where we're like, let's punch in, make it pristine, make it, a studio recording. I think that takes away from the magic and the difficulty. It takes away from, definitely it takes away from the organic nature of us playing in a room together. There's nothing worse than playing a song separately, separate tracks, and trying to make it sound organic. This brings out, I think, our personalities. It brings out the performance, and also I think eventually we would like to get a streamlined way of getting our music live. Like doing live streams and doing things like that more. We're just taking steps, I think, to make sure we preserve how cool the music is, and make sure that we play in a way that's organic, and it really does boost the performance level. It raises the stakes, right? Because each person wants to get it right on that take. So we generally do about on average 4 or 5 takes per song, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the material.
That's impressive.
And we all come prepared, so at least we try to come prepared.
But it's our first time running, and when we sit down and play, that's like the running, right when we get here and play, that's That's the...
Yeah, we don't rehearse.
There is definitely a bit of magic when we first sit down and we play a song that we've all been looking at separately together.
Yeah.
When you sit down, you hear it together for the first time. You're always there's this moment of, you know, unbalance, but it's a really nice unbalance because you're on this ship together and you're like, whoa, you know, we all have our parts here and it's sounding what may or may not be in your head.
For those of your viewers who haven't seen our collaboration yet, which came out yesterday actually, as of when we're filming this interview, the video of you playing, and obviously you sent us the audio and video that you recorded simultaneously, and we mixed it in, we blended your footage into ours, and it was just one take. And you know, there are moments in the song that we covered from Final Fantasy VI where there's no flute. And so it was fun to kind of see you feeling the music and getting ready to come back in and to have you with us on that whole journey of that song for one continuous take was really cool for us, and hopefully you had a good time doing that too.
I had a lovely time. I was really happy that you guys left in the parts where I was just kind of grooving with you guys, because I feel like, you know, that's kind of part of the music actually.
Yes,
you
it
know?
is. That's exactly right.
In the same vein as talking about doing this stuff live, rewind back to when I was first listening to you guys while I was, you know, doing my own thumbnail, and I got to the Donkey Kong aquatic ambiance, that part where it like slides, you know, like I took that part for granted because I was like, yeah, that's just how it goes. And then it wasn't until like halfway through the song that I was like, wait a second, they're doing this live, like how are they making that sound, you know? So I like went to like look at the video, rewound it, and then like just to see how you were doing it. So can you talk about, like, first off, how did you do that? What were you using there? And are there any other videos that you guys have done where you guys have had to do like really weird things to pull off the sounds that you were trying to replicate?
Yeah, every single song that we cover, obviously the source material is all digital. It's all electronic instruments, you know. It's usually pretty obvious what part Taylor needs to cover on drums or what part Ken's going to do on bass. Unless he's playing violin, you know. But then between Tim and myself, we've got to cover everything else, all the other instruments we hear. So, you know, I'll usually cover 1, 2, sometimes 3 parts, and then Tim will cover roughly between 20 and 3,000 other distinct parts that are left over, because he's a wizard like that. But like, so with the example of aquatic ambiance, the underwater music from Donkey Kong, you know, you hear this almost siren-esque upward glissando in the piece, and it's relatively quiet. So the first question that we have when Tim and I are on the phone or over email figuring out who's going to cover what is, are we even going to capture that? Usually we try to capture every single element that's in every song, because that's, as Ken was saying, that's kind of part of our ethos as a band. So then the next question is, are you going to take it or am I going to take it? And I think on that one, the decision was that an upward slide was a pretty guitaristic thing. And there was a prominent this other thing that was pretty obvious Timmy was going to have to cover that. So I knew it was going to have to be me. And so I had a brilliant idea. I'd use my e-bow, which is, I don't know if your viewers are familiar with the e-bow. It's an electronic bow, right? And it's basically a bow-like device that you attach to a string, and it vibrates consistently so that you can kind of get that arco vibe from a guitar. And I thought, great, I'll do that and I'll slide it up and down the neck and it'll be perfect. Now, that week, I was really short on prep time, and so I prepared everything for the songs that we were recording that day, except for this arco part. But I had my brilliant idea that I knew was going to work, right? So we get to the session. I don't know if you guys remember this.
I do.
Eric was the drummer, not Taylor, but at that time, but we were starting to play the song, and I brought the e-bow to the string, and I started doing it, and the sound was constant, which was the point when I remembered, oh yeah, the e-bow is taking the place of the pick, not of your fretting hand, and it just creates a constant sound. So if I were to put my finger down while using the e-bow, you would have heard it would just have been basically an ascending chromatic scale. So I thought to myself,
instead of like an actual like slide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And you'd think that I would know that, given I play guitar before, but I just had, I don't know what was going through my head. So I said to myself,
we all have those moments.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, cool, no worries, I'll use a slide. So I reach into my bag to look for my slide, of which I have probably 6 laying around that I never use. You know, slide is the bottleneck that a guitarist puts around his or her finger to you know, create that glissando. And I had no slide. So I thought, well, this is a bit embarrassing. And we stopped, actually. We had to kind of take a Michael break for 5 minutes while I jury-rigged a solution. Finally, right when I was about to give up, I looked to my left, and you can see in my old videos, I always keep a tiny canister next to me for my earplugs. In the old videos, I've since upgraded to a smaller little thing that's not a canister, but I had my little canister of Heroes, Hearos, which are, you know, sort of mass-produced headphones, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I can use this cylindrical container in place of a slide. And sure enough, I tried it. And it's not perfect. The material isn't perfect. The texture and even the shape aren't perfect. And you can hear in that Donkey Kong recording that the glissando sort of skips when it gets to a certain part of the harmonic series. And it starts over at the very bottom. But lo and behold, at the last minute, we were able to MacGyver a solution, and you can hear that sort of dead whale effect being recreated.
That's
you know,
that is so cool.
One of our most watched videos is from Sonic the Hedgehog Green Hill Zone, and if you just watch the video and you just listen to it, it sounds like what I'm doing is super simple, and maybe it is, but in my head, when I'm playing that part, my head is literally just doing circles and trying to stay focused, because I have a lot of times what I have to do is split my keyboards into several different sounds, and that's just part of creating the soundscape for whatever song it is.
Right.
And you know, Michael covers a lot with the guitar, more than any other guitarist I've ever played with, just to be totally honest. So when I get into keyboard land and figure out how I'm going to do my stuff, a lot of times I have to do multiple sounds, split the keyboards all over the place, and figure out how I'm going to map all this stuff, and it's crazy. But for that one, I had to play the melody with my left hand, which is already counterintuitive for a pianist. And, and then there was another part that was playing a completely different part with my right hand, and they're on 2 different keyboards, and they're in octaves that don't make sense to your senses as an instrumentalist. When you look down, you think on your left hand there's the low notes, and on the right hand there's the high notes. But on this particular one, all the high notes were on the left hand in the lower. So anyway, we're just dancing along, playing this song, and my brain is exploding. And we had to do so many takes in that song, because doing both those things at the same time and keeping all those rhythms right and everything was a real challenge. Yeah, it was chaos.
There are some difficult ones on bass, but I never have to figure out, sound patches and figuring out sounds, luckily, because...
You've had to do some altered tuning sometimes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what's that?
So there are a number of songs where the bass just doesn't go low enough, so I have to tune to either a D sharp sometimes a C sharp.
Wow.
And that always plays with your brain a bit, because the fret moves down a bunch. On the bass, the frets are set up, so for instance, when it's tuned E, when the low string is tuned in an E, you have a certain shape that your hand is in that creates the octave, but then when you tune that low string lower, that note goes higher, right? For instance, F-Zero's, I think our Mute City song, or maybe, no, it's Mute City, I tuned to a D sharp, which is weird. And so you're kind of moving around, but it's the only way to get the lowest note in the song. So there's some songs where I have to tune differently, and then there's some really difficult ones, because bass lines for video games are generally they're just they're like a MIDI, right? It's just somebody on a keyboard, and no offense. The most difficult ones have been definitely the Final Fantasy IV battle theme. That was hard because there's a lot of octave movement, and then there's a Sonic one, and I can't remember. I think it's the bonus stage, where it's just constantly. You're just it's hard because you're sliding back and forth, and you're doing the same thing over and over, but you're also slapping, and check out those 2. If you're...
I think
sounds good.
A technical one for you too, that for a lot of us was Cutman, Mega Man. Which Mega Man was that from?
Mega Man 1.
That was physically a really demanding song because of the speed and the parts. I was playing a hyper speed samba on that. It was it just made sense
Yeah.
with that song, and then kind of
Right, of
going into
course.
like a hybrid backbeat samba thing in the chorus. And that was just really physically demanding,
Yeah.
you know. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole song, my feet are playing dooch 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 dooch, right left foot, you know, like about that speed too, while
Oh
keeping
my
everything
gosh.
else going down.
We should all sing our parts of that song right now.
Yes.
For drum wise, it's tricky because some of the things are so counterintuitive to how I would approach a part, keeping true to some of bits and how that song was recorded, but that one was kind of a little bit more open drum wise for interpretation. But
Right.
I remember their parts too. Tim had this crazy polyrhythmic looping keyboard pattern that was just ridiculous to keep in time, and then you're playing the gallop, right?
Not on that one. That
Oh, you
one
weren't
actually
doing
I was-
that. Wasn't okay.
Yeah, mine was actually pretty easy on that
Oh,
side. But
okay.
it was Skull Man, where
Skull
I
Man.
have I'm doing the gallop, you know, the da-da-da-da-da-da with your fingers on the bass, and that can be difficult too if you're playing notes all over the place. So there's been a couple songs where I've had to do that, and but they're fun, you know, they're fun to practice and do. So
Skullman's up next week.
Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Be sure to check out our collaboration. We have 2 videos out. One video is on their channel, which is sort of the more, like, I guess, traditional take on the Final Fantasy VI Searching for Friends. And then on my performance channel, Just Another Flautist, we did a jazzy, smooth version. Fun fact, that's actually the first time I've recorded myself doing anything remotely jazzy. These guys brought it out of me, so you have these guys to thank for.
Nice.
Definitely, please go and subscribe to them. Follow them on their social media. You guys are all at Extra Lives Music, right?
That's right.
As usual, if you guys like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. Also, head on over to their channel, to Extra Lives Music channel. Like all of their videos. I will see you guys next week. Bye!
Bye.
bye.